Good evening, friends. How are you? How is everybody? Do me a favor. Let me know. Can you hear me? Can you see me? We greatly appreciate that. Oop, what little I have has just gone wild, hasn't it? I've got my reading glasses on this evening. I've got my new glasses. So these are for distance as well as reading. And they are progressive. No, those aren't them. Yeah, they are. These are them. They are progressive lenses. So I have a hard time trying to find where the reading part is and everything else, getting used to them. So let me get them cleaned, get a little bit of that smudge off. If I'm raising my head, it's not that I'm looking down on you. It's that I'm trying to find the reading portion of the bifocals. There we go. So I can read down here. Thank you, Scott Hummer. I appreciate that. So Scott Hummer, is number one. Gosh, you're always so reliable. Thank you so much for that. And I think I saw Patty's Garden as well. Whoops. I'm going to go back to my reading glasses. I think that's going to make it a lot easier this evening. They need to be cleaned as well. Gosh, we got a lot of great topics. There's no rhyme or reason to what we'll be discussing this evening. It's just 15 various topics, but they are fantastic topics. So let me see. Yeah, it was Patty's Garden. Good evening. Good to see you. For those of you in the Mid-East and in the Northeast, I understand you're under threats of severe snow and ice and everything else. Please do everything you need to do to take care of yourself. Make sure that you have your animals taken care of. Make sure that you're taken care of. If you have plants outdoors you need to take care of, we've got ours pulled up into the entryway as well as in the patio. Got them covered and keeping those warm. The only thing I did not do was I've got two different rain catchment systems. I like to open the spigot on one of them when there's a freeze, the smaller one, the 55-gallon one. I like to open the spigot on that and empty it when there's a freeze coming. I don't think it's going to be a hard freeze, but so I'm not worried about it that much this evening. But typically, I would like to do that. Let me see. We've got a couple new people joining us. Little Lone Prepper, Rogue Gypsy. Good evening. Welcome to both of you. Love Son. I was just chatting with Love Son. Where was that? Was that on the Roaming Prepper channel? Anyhow, we said hi on another channel here just recently. Good evening. Good to see you. You're Northeast Ohio. Wait and see what you get. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so you've got the possibility of getting that lake effect as well. From what I understand, the winds aloft are really pulling that cold front over, especially Missouri, Illinois, Indiana. It may, last I saw, it may kind of drop off there in the Ohio area and then re-intensify as it gets back over Pennsylvania and New York. But yeah, absolutely, you're in our prayers. We hope things go well for you. Things are going well here. We got our first possibility of a freeze this year tonight, and we're 1st of December. I mean, what can you say? I did get a call from my grandchildren, and so they've got some stuff they want us to. They've got their list up on Amazon what they want for Christmas. So Helen and I are going to do our Amazon shopping for Cyber Monday if it applies as soon as we get done with this live. The one thing I like, the one thing I can honestly say I truly like about freezing weather is hot chocolate. So I got my old Swiss Miss out. I have my tea kettle on the gas stove. We got the two mixed together, and now we have a nice hot cup of cocoa or hot chocolate, whichever you prefer to call it. Just fantastic. Make sure you have plenty of this on hand, by the way, for SHTF. I probably have maybe 6 cans, the big number 10 cans of Swiss Miss, just for SHTF. Let me see. Oh, gosh. Butch Gray says it's 23 there right now. Wow. And they've got their first decent snow. Kaylin Strain, how are you doing there in your area, Kaylin, as far as the weather? You guys are right at the leading edge of that snowstorm. And Theoxerus was at +6 this morning. Wow. 5 inches of ice. That's what we get here in Central Texas. We don't get snow, we get ice. And I just left our St. Vincent de Paul meeting, and we were talking about working our budget, and I'm the disaster coordinator for our conference. And so I said, remember, they're predicting that we're going to have another ice mageddon here in Central Texas sometime in middle January, going through the end of February. So we know right now we're probably going to have some sort of a power outage for at least a short while, possibly a little bit longer. And so we need to make sure we have plenty of funds to take care of people should that happen. Okay. Des Moines got 10 inches Saturday. Wow, Kaylin, unbelievable. Pete, Triple G, how are you doing this evening? Welcome. Good to see you. 22 degrees there. Let me see what it is here. Let me check my watch. It's 43 here right now. Okay, chapter 15, or point number 15. I'm calling them chapters, but they're actually his numerical 150 tips. I guess I should call it tip 15. Are major disasters and catastrophic events predictable? Yes and no. He says the majority, for the vast amount of time, were able to be predicted by experts in various fields. The severity of which, things like that, it's difficult to say. We can tell that there are trends. For example, the San Andreas Fault in California. We know that that's due for a major 6.0 or above. We know that the rim of fire, as a matter of fact, if you go to earthquakes.usgs.gov, they have not had a 5 or greater now for 48 hours. And we typically see at least 1.5 or 1.6 in the rim of fire on a regular basis. That's kind of mellowed out. A lot of earthquakes, but it's mellowing out. There are some, and help me, Kaylin, you know who I'm talking about. Space Weather News, Space Weather Observer. I keep forgetting his name. But he is convinced that the solar impact on the Earth, it has a definite impact on tides, earthquakes, and volcanoes. So Ben Davidson is his name. Got it. And so Ben says that he is convinced that it has an impact. There's another great channel that talks a lot about earthquakes and volcanoes and stuff like that, and it's called Dutch Sense. And he is of the same opinion that we can look at the solar system, and we can look at the sun, and the sun and some of its mechanizations has an impact on Earth. So those are predictable. Right now, some of the other things we've got is there going to be a religious war. That's another thing that's going to be on the table. That's continually, what can we say, fermenting. Of course, the shooting of the 2 National Guardsmen in D.C. did not help matters at all. We've got possibility of civil war, civil strife. We've got financial collapse. We've got so many different things. We got the war with possible war with Venezuela, the narco war that can be expanding. Of course, the 5 major cartels in Mexico. We're always at ends with them. There was a possibility that the people in Mexico City, there were 1 million protesters in Mexico City protesting the death of the mayor of Mexico City. I think they've had 6 mayors in 2 years, and they keep getting offed if they are not in total agreement with the president. But things around the world, there's a lot of things you can take a look at. You can say that there's indicators, and we can say that something is going to happen. What it is and when it's going to happen and to what severity are the question marks that are still exist. So are major disasters and catastrophic events predictable? In a sense, yes. In a sense, no. How likely is it that a survival level emergency will happen to me or my family? I'm going to say there's a 100% chance that a survival level event will happen to you or your family in your lifetime, in my lifetime. It's just getting that close. Of course, we saw the expansion of the Ukraine-Russia war while they're trying to talk peace. It appears that Ukraine took out 2 Russian oil tankers in the Black Sea, and and then of course Russia had taken out a Turkish oil tanker that was being used by the Ukrainians. And so, that's kind of exacerbating itself. We've also seen a little bit, the tension is starting to re-emerge, Israel and Palestine. So there's stuff all over the world. What is the number 17, what is the domino effect of a disaster? So the whole theory of domino effects is that as one thing collapses, it pushes into something else and causes it to collapse. So for an example, let's take an electric power outage. Okay, so with an electric power outage, people don't have electricity. They right now heating is a prime concern, and because they don't have heat, they won't be able to cook, and because they won't be able to cook, then you're going to have more people starving. It's going to be a drain on the overall system. People are going to want to go to the stores and get more food, get more heating supplies, more heating fuel. But the demand on the system, because it's a just-in-time system, is going to cascade that. You're going to have trucks that are trying to get the replacement products to the stores, but they can't move because they're dependent upon fuel, and the fuel in the pipelines and the tanker trucks getting to the gas stations that keep the trucks moving, that keep all the supplies coming to the stores. Without electricity, you can't pump gas or pump diesel at the gas station. Some of them have generators. They may have 24, 48, 72 hours worth of fuel in those generators to run the pumps. But if they do run the pumps that long, certainly the pumps are going to be dry. I think the typical fueling point in the U.S. right now requires a tanker to top it off, about every 36 to 48 hours. So their capacity to provide electricity to pump the fuel may exceed the amount of fuel that they have on hand. So, just as one thing collapses, it causes another to collapse. And thank you, Little Prepper, for putting Dutch sense up there for me. That's how thoughtful of you. I appreciate that. Mountain Survival, good evening and welcome. Good to see you. Oh no. So I did overeat. I typically do not eat as much as I did Thursday. And then, of course, that made me sleepy and I had a 4-hour drive home. But, we made it. We made it. But I wish you well. And one of the things I found is there's a natural remedy, ginger tablets. Koreans taught me about ginger tablets. But if you think you've got too much and you're getting a little bit of bloating and a little bit of gas and everything else, ginger tablets work fantastic. So Tuck by V1 says that he has been homeless because of storm damage. I can completely understand that. Yeah, that's one of my biggest fears. That's the fear that we have right now. Our county disaster planning committee, we have another meeting coming up this Thursday. Yeah, that's one of our big fears is cascading ice event. And so I'm also a member of the county unhoused coalition for the unhoused. And given the population of unhoused people we have in the county and the number of places where we can put them up in the event of a freeze, we don't know what we're going to do with the rest of them. So it's going to be difficult to take care of people if there's a heavy freeze. So that's where we are with that. Let me check here. Mountain Survival says, we cooked a lot, and most of the people. Oh, this is concerning Thanksgiving. Joseph Risk. Is that Slavic name? Josip Risk. So, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, when I was younger, we used to drive, when I was living in El Paso, that's where I grew up. We would drive Highway 54 from El Paso almost up to Chicago, just through northwestern Missouri, where my mother's family was. And we'd spend summer up there. Well, Highway 54 goes through a little portion of the Texas Panhandle called Dalhart. And we were stuck there for 4 days due to a snowstorm. And they put us up in the high school gymnasium. I can remember that. Egyptian. Wow, that sounds exciting. How can I survive a home fire that starts while I'm asleep in bed? Well, I don't know if you've seen my home video or my pepper tip video, but I keep a fire extinguisher next to my bed on the nightstand. We have a fire extinguisher in every room of the house. So the best thing to do is make sure that they don't happen. So we don't allow any open flames after if there's not somebody staying awake. Then just in case of everything else, we do have an all-purpose fire extinguisher in every room. I keep one next to my bed, because that's the only way out of the house is through that one door in my bedroom. I can't, maybe jump out a window. So I've got to have that fire extinguisher in case my escape route is blocked, so I can use the fire extinguisher to get out. I would say make sure you have fire extinguishers. Make sure you have a good smoke detector. Remember to change the batteries when you switch over for either daylight savings time or regular time. Check your batteries. Make sure that they're all good to go for your smoke detectors. Make sure you also have a carbon monoxide detector. So I keep a carbon monoxide detector. I reached for the carbon monoxide detector and got my Geiger counter too. But anyhow, so I keep a carbon monoxide detector, and right now it's reading 0. But I like to keep a carbon monoxide detector at waist level. And the reason I do that the smoke rises. So I have the smoke detectors up in the top of the ceilings, and then carbon monoxide is heavier than air, so it settles. So I know that as long as that's not beeping, I can get down low to avoid the the smoke. But as soon as that starts beeping, I got to find that safe space in the middle, right above the waist, but below head high, to get out of the house so that I'm not asphyxiated either by the smoke or by carbon monoxide. So that's the best thing. Have a plan. Make sure you test your family, and you have a plan on where you're going to meet up afterwards. And I think that's pretty much what we can do. So he talks about the toxic gases. He talks about fire extinguishers. He talks about having a dust mask and a flashlight. I have a flashlight next to my bed as well. As a matter of fact, I was thinking about just showing you the photo I took of that of my nightstand. But so on my nightstand, I have a candle, a lighter, and it's a beeswax candle. As a matter of fact, Pope came out today and said, be prepared for the 3 days of darkness. And so I do have a beeswax candle, because supposedly beeswax candles will work during the 3 days of darkness. Flashlight, fire extinguisher, a Ruger Security 9, an extra magazine. I have my K-bar knife. I have a replica of the Ark of the Covenant on my nightstand. Let me see, what else? Yeah, so light, defense, and fire extinguisher. They're on the nightstand. So that's pretty much it. Okay, how can I survive a home fire that starts while I'm awake? Well, the number one thing is, before you do anything else, dial 911. I have too many firefighter friends who tell me that the people that have some of the greatest losses are the ones who thought they could handle the fire by themselves. So they tried to fight the fire, then it got out of hand, then they called 911, and so far it's already established by the time you call 911. So they have a harder time putting it out. He said if you call 911 first, just take the 5 seconds to 10 seconds to call 911, tell them fire, give them your address, and then you try to start controlling the fire yourself. That's the better way to do it. Call 911 first, and then if you want to try to, it depends on the size of the fire. Okay, But, you know, take care of yourself and your family first. Family, especially children, put on an N95 mask if you have one, a medical mask if you at least have that. Do something to protect your lungs from inhalation of smoke and all that kinds of stuff. And then on prepper tip number 20, he gives an example of how to use a fire extinguisher to fight a fire. Now remember that a type A fire extinguisher is basically using water, okay, to fight the fire. So it's really good for paper and wood, paper, wood, cloth. Good for that. Great for that. Everything else, it's terrible. Do not try to use a type A fire extinguisher on a stove fire. Do not try to use a type A fire extinguisher for an electrical fire. It won't work. You need an ABCD fire extinguisher to do those because you need something with the foam capability. Remember that a fire has three basic parts, right? It needs heat, it needs a fuel source, and it needs oxygen. If you take away any one of those three, you've effectively killed the fire. So water tries to take away the temperature, okay? And however, for an electrical fire, it just conducts electricity. For a grease fire or anything like that, it just spreads it. In those two cases, what you want to do is you want to smother the fire with some sort of an agent, and that's where you get into the foam type fire extinguishers. How about a fire ladder that hooks on the windowsill if you have multiple levels? Absolutely. The very first apartment I had when I left home was a second story. Actually, it was a third story apartment. And so my mother came out to visit, and one of the very first things she did was buy us one of those fire escape ladders. And gosh, I had that for the longest time. We still had it when we bought our house in Cat Hollow, and that was a two-story house. And so, yeah, we still had that. So we could get out the back, as a matter of fact, if we needed to. But yes, it is. However, I also want to encourage you to try to use it once or twice because there's nothing holding it stable. It's not going to be like a normal ladder that you're used to. So you got to kind of get used to using it. So what I would recommend you do is put it on your windowsill, okay? Then go downstairs and then try to climb it a little bit so you get a feel because that's a loose chain ladder, okay? So as you step, your step and your weight's going to push in towards the house. Your hand's going to pull out. You're going to have all kinds of different unnatural body movements. I think you need to prepare for that ahead of time so that if you do need to use it in case of a fire and you put your feet into it and they start swinging, you know exactly what's going to happen and how you can counter that. Strongly recommend that you try to get try to use that. Try to practice a little bit with it. Then remember that the word pass when you're using a fire extinguisher, and that's for pull the pin, aim the fire extinguisher nozzle at the base of the fire, squeeze the trigger, and then spray. And that is you're going to move left to right across so that you're trying to encompass the entire fire. So that's pass. Pull, aim, squeeze, spray. Okay. Number 21 is camouflage an important survival skill. And all too often, gosh, I know you're going to get tired of me saying this. All too often, it just flat out depends. Yes, you want to be as inconspicuous as possible. Now, during hunting season, running around here in camouflage is not abnormal. Now, there's so many hunters around here wearing camouflage that it's something else. Now, when we drove home Thursday, we stopped in Eden, I think it was, and we stopped at a gas station. Brady. Was it Brady? Both of them. Yeah, well, one of the two. We stopped at a gas station, and a family in a diesel pickup next to us got out, and we all went into the gas station together. The other family, I mean, they probably had, what, a 7-8-year-old girl?
She was in camo.
and she was in camo. The wife was in camo. The father was in camo. Of course, hunting season is going wild. So and that's hunting territory out there. So we were kind of abnormal being dressed for Thanksgiving. When I worked downtown at the homeless shelter, people said, "Don't get a tactical backpack. Don't wear camouflage." Well, a lot of the homeless people were getting free clothing from military surplus, and so I would venture to say that 30% of the homeless population at that point were wearing some sort of military issue camouflage or uniform or something uh, that they had acquired. I'm going to say that about 30% of their backpacks were military tactical type backpacks. Now, there were a couple Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck backpacks. You see all kinds of different things. But your goal is to fit into the crowd and not be conspicuous. Uh, I can tell you go get your camouflage, but if you live like where Kaylin lives, and all of a sudden they got snow, and you're wearing camouflage, and it's the wrong camouflage, and you're out in the snow, you become more of a target than you do camouflage. There's all different kinds of camouflage, so it just depends. So yeah, yes, yes, camouflage. Camouflage yourself by blending in to your nature, your natural surroundings, and also by blending into your local surroundings, whatever those might be. And he gives great examples of all different kinds of camouflage. He talks about shape, shine, silhouette, shadow, and shading. So one of the things they taught us in the Army was to use camouflage paint the exact opposite of how the sun sees us. So, for example, the sun hits my forehead, and I'm an old greasy man, so this is kind of shows up as a brighter color. So what you want to do is you want to darken that so that, and then the underneath the eyes is a little bit darker. It's more shadow. You might want to lighten that a little bit. Underneath here, you get a lot of sun ray reflecting, so that's a little bit lighter. You might want to darken that. My nose would be a place I might want to darken. Your cheeks, you want to put different patterns on it. Now, you don't want to do it to the point. You don't want to do it to the point where you're just creating a negative image of who and what you are. Okay, you want to change the patterns in there. You want to do some disruptive patterning in there. So he talks about some other important considerations in maintaining stealth is movement. Move slowly. Carlos Heathcock, I don't know how many of you have heard of him. He was a famous sniper during the Vietnam era. Once took 3 days to move something like 500 yards in order to get a shot on a Vietnamese general. But the slower you move, the less visible you are, especially at night. At night, it's movement that people are going to pick up on. It's not if you're very still, they aren't going to pick up on you. Noise discipline, light discipline, time selection, route selection, all that becomes important. So make sure you practice good stealth techniques. Should real survivalists retreat from society and take refuge in wilderness retreats and bunkers in anticipation of a doomsday event? Yes and no. Once again, if you can do that and still provide an income of some sorts in order to meet the needs of everything you're going to have. Now, if you've already got everything all saved up and you're going to go out there and you've got enough saved up to where if you have any needs to use cash, you got an ample supply of it, you can go into town and get what you need, good. But make sure you have a way of procuring additional whatever for wherever you're going. Would I love? I went to Central Texas. There's a place in Belleville. The local baker by the name of Nolan built. He spent 28 years. No, 20 years at $28,000 a year, or 28 years at $20,000, or one or the other, building himself a castle in Belleville, and it was completed in the 1990s, and he just passed away last year. Tuck by V1. Thank you, Gunny Sergeant. Yeah, thank you. But anyhow, just marvelous. But I love to build one of those. Absolutely. Well, and have a community that would go inside of it. Yeah, I would love to have that. But remember, having a community inside of it. I'm not going to retreat from society. We cannot. Man is a social animal. Very seldom is there somebody who can go out on their own and not go wankers over being all by themselves. There's a new, the rule of threes. They say 3 minutes without air, 3 hours in a cold environment, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food, and now they're saying 3 months without companionship. So, after 3 months of being alone, a lot of people just go crazy. That's one of the problems they found out with incarceration and putting people in solitary confinement. There was a limit to how long they could put them there without them going bonkers. Hot chocolate. Which isn't that hot anymore. Okay. So when is doomsday? I want to read this to you. This is a great answer. The short answer is that doomsday is the day when your luck and survival plans fail. Anyone who tries to tell you when the stock market will crash, when World War III will start, or some cosmic level disaster will strike is misleading you. The great majority of predicted disasters never happened. Y2K is one I can think of. The world was going to end in Y2K. There was a thing on the news the other day that gave what the prediction of the world's going to end in 10 years, and they were all the different um, natural things that were happening that were going to cause the earth to end. Paul Ehrlich and the population bomb came out in 1970. That was required reading my freshman year in college, and that we were overpopulating the earth, and if we didn't stop by 1980, we would use up all the food sources. By 1980, the polar caps were supposed to melt because of global warming. By 1990, we were now into global freezing. And but there's been every 10 years, there's been something. And every one of those has been wrong. We haven't had one happen yet. So the great majority of predicted doomsday disasters never happened, and the vast majority of actual disasters were not predicted. Katrina, that's a good one. Doomsday may be defined as a day or period of days in which the world experiences massive death and destruction that leaves civilization in ruins. The end of life as we know it can happen with one catastrophic event, such as worldwide nuclear war, asteroid impact, or in a series of smaller natural and man-made catastrophes that bring chaos and destruction over years or decades. For example, we're going to start, we already have, and we're going to start feeling even greater, the food issues as a result of Ukraine. A lot of its fertile farmland is now wasteland in the war that's going on with Russia. So you're not getting the same volume of food. And they were the breadbasket to Europe and to Russia. So this is one of those domino effects, right? So if you have a conflict going on where you're supposed to be growing wheat, poo-poo happens. So that's one of those that's kind of gradually growing. We've had several events with animals here recently and different culling events because of disease and things like that. It's crazy, but there are just all kinds of bad things happening, and they're going to cascade. It's going to be this domino effect that I think one of these points, it's like that perfect storm, where you have two or three different things happening all at the same time, and they just kind of congeal and form that perfect disaster. What are the elements of a good emergency plan? What should you plan for? That's a tough question. Here, where I am, ice storms, because they happen so seldom, once every 5 years maybe. We've had 2 or 3 cataclysmic ones in the last 10 years, which is really abnormal. We very seldom see that many days below 32, let alone an ice storm that's a week or two. We do get tornadoes. The Gerald tornado just north of us took out, was probably one of the strongest F5s to hit the U.S. It broke into three tornadoes. One of them came down I-35. I was at Dell at the time, and one of them came down I-35, racing towards Dell. One of them went down Highway 183, and the manager of the Randall's grocery store there had all of his patrons get into the cooler, the meat cooler in the store. And that was a good thing on his part because that F2 took out the Randall station, the Randall store. And so, matter of fact, they've rebuilt something else on that corner now. But, so we are right at the tail end of Tornado Alley. We still get all the rain effects and wind effects from hurricanes that come along the Gulf Coast. So we get those. We have we have a fault line here. I forget the name of it. But there is a natural earthquake fault line that runs right parallel I-35 all the way down into Austin. So there's a lot of different things we need to prepare for here, not to mention the fact civil unrest and all the other things that come along with that, financial collapse and all that kind of stuff. So pick your catastrophe. What I would recommend if you were if we were talking and you said, Lee, you've been doing this a long time, and what would you recommend that I do? What I would say is pick something to prepare with that you know is going to have the greatest utility across a greater number of catastrophes: food, water, first aid, water purification, warmth in the winter, some sort of cooling mechanism in the summer. So if you can take that kind of stuff, that's going to be pretty much applicable across the board. Now that Geiger counter I accidentally picked up when I showed you my carbon monoxide detector, that's only good under one or two scenarios. That's nuclear war. It's not going to do us any good in a financial collapse. It's not going to do that much good in civil uprising. There's a lot of things that's not good for. Make sure you have your bases covered before you go off into other areas. Okay, so get that. What can you do that's going to have the greatest impact across the greatest number of catastrophes, so that you're prepared for all of those? That would be my recommendation. Okay, let me read some comments, and then we'll get into the last question for the evening. Once you've got and this is from Theoxis, once you've got your basics covered and have evaluated your location, listen to the hucksters a lot less. Absolutely. I thought grain prices were down. I don't know. I don't pay attention to grain. I kind of pay attention to silver and gold, but not that much. I used to pay attention to the stock market. I'm pretty much out of the stock market. I probably have about a dozen stocks left. Nothing super exciting. Probably, Aflac, RPM, which is Republic Powdered Metals, and their stock symbols RPOW. That's probably the one I have the greatest number of shares of. GM, Aflac, what else? Wells Fargo is not doing very good at all. Coca-Cola, Ford, so nothing really, exciting. I sold all my Dell, I think I'm kind of glad I did. Let me see. Have a plan for hour one, first day, second day, third day, and literally says, drink water so I don't forget. Absolutely. Yeah. So I just watched a video, very good video, by the way. There was one Canadian prepper, had a guy on, and I have his name here in my notes. I took notes on it. Where's my calendar? Oh, here it is. The guy his name is Aaron Assay, and he said that the best preparedness book that he's ever read was written by Louis L'Amour. Louis L'Amour was a great Western novelist, and the name of the book is The Last of a Breed. And it's a story of an aviator who is American indigenous, American Native Indian, and he is shut down in enemy territory, and he uses a combination of his Native American skills and what he was taught in the Air Force to successfully SEER, and that is survival, escape, resistance, and survival, evasion, resistance, and escape. So basically, he evaded and escaped Japanese control. So, he says it's one of the best books he's ever read. I want to check into that. But he had a fantastic discussion, hour and a half long, with the Canadian prepper, and talking about planning and everything else. And just, gosh, if you get a chance, see that Canadian prepper interview with Aaron Assay. I think he has something to do with Jace Medical. He's a doctor, and he's gone around the world helping with disasters and third world stuff. Like where there is no doctor, he goes and helps. And it was just a fantastic interview. KP Heathen, good evening. Good to see you. You tell Mike, absolutely, I agree. Mutual funds are the way to go. I dabbled in them. There used to be a company, and I believe they're still in existence, called Better Investing. And it was the National Association of Investment Clubs. So I started getting involved. We had an investment club when I was at Fuel Station Augsburg, 1977 to 1980. And what it was you could buy a fraction of a stock. It's just regular monthly investment. And so when I left Fuel Station Augsburg, went to Goodfellow Air Force Base, was continued to invest. But there I primarily invested in mutual funds. I agree with you. Then I got married and went back to Germany, bought 2 or 3 more stocks, but still primarily investment mutual funds. USAA got out of the investment fund business, and so they transferred all of my mutual funds to other companies that I didn't care for that much. So I took that money and put it into precious metals, into stocks that I was picking. Got to Fort Huachuca, started another investment club. And as a matter of fact, I've formed and been a member of about 3 or 4 different investment clubs. You can, in an investment club, also invest in mutual funds. So I started getting really, really into it. But I wholeheartedly agree. Mutual funds are the best way to go, better than an individual stock. I don't know if NAIC and Better Investing is still in business or not. They were having some problems. God, my hair is terrible. Okay. When I worked, I had a list in the car along with the get-home bag because there was no way I could stay there. Now that I'm retired, I do think everyone I am out and about on what my plan would be. Love Son, that is absolutely correct. So, for example, I have a list, a little booklet that I've created that I even have pictures. And so I tell Helen, if this happens and you're at this place, pick these up before you come home. If not, come straight home. These are our primary alternate contingency and emergency locations that we need to go to. I just froze. Did I freeze for you all, or was that just for me? Getting all kinds of alerts up here. Let me see if I can't close some of this out and get rid of some of my RAM usage. Come on, computer, cooperate with me. Helen wants to buy me a new computer because this one's like a 12-year-old Mac. Okay, so obviously I'm just freezing on my computer and not on yours. That's good. So anyhow, so we have plans and a plan booklet, and so that way we know exactly what we need to do, where we are, when we are. He recommends that you also have it based on contingencies. So like he says, what are you going to do, in what order, where will you be, where will you go, what is your pace plan, who's responsible for doing what. And now I have thumb drives, and I've got the exact same plan. As a matter of fact, I need to get 2 more people involved, and I was looking for my extra thumb drives I bought just so I could copy it to them. But I have let me see. I don't know if I can show you a Word document. I have a Word document, and it's probably, it's a half a book. probably need to turn it into a book, but it's basically everything a person needs to know about what we're going to do collectively as a group should anything happen. And it's based upon each scenario. So then he's got sample emergency planning tools and forms and everything else in the book, which is another advantage to having this book. Let me tell you, this is great. I just absolutely love his work. What items should a survivalist keep in a bedside drawer to survive emergencies to develop while sleeping? Well, he's got, he opens his, he used to be an EMT, and he says the one thing he wishes he could convince everybody to do is carry aspirin, so that if you ever feel that you're having a heart attack, you take an aspirin, and that would be one of the first aid things you would do for yourself. He has a rescue tool, a respirator, aspirin, flashlight, whistle, pepper spray, firearm, cell phone, car keys. Yeah, my cell phone is next to my bed when I'm asleep. But I also have an iWatch, and so that basically it serves as an extension of my cell phone. I can make calls on it. It has an alarm on it, everything else. Wallet, all that kinds of stuff. He also has a NOAA radio on the nightstand, as do I. Although I'm not as convinced about NOAA as I am with our county reverse 911. So in the event of something bad happening here, our county emergency management system does reverse 911, which just calls everybody in the that's in this zip code and gives us a warning of what's happening or what's about to happen. Let me see. Yeah, yeah, I use an awful lot of these. I'm transferring it over to a lot of those. Uh, I've already gone through one battery. I found out that the one bad thing you do with a portable is I like to keep it plugged in. When I was working at Dell, they gave us laptops to bring home, and I had a stand that I worked in, and never worried about it. With what I found out about a Mac is once you get it powered up, you unplug it because if you keep it plugged in, you kill your battery. So I'm on my third battery now in 12 years. So, and if I unplug this right now, I would probably have a minute's worth of battery life before it goes dead because I keep it plugged in, which is a bad thing for a portable. Let me see. I don't have a face mask, Iggy. That's a very good idea. I have one not far. Uh, I have one that's probably 3 steps away from the nightstand, but very good idea. Right by the nightstand. That's a very good idea for the face mask. I did not know that. Thank you, Scott. Scott says that if you take aspirin for a cardiac event, chew it. I guess what that does is that causes it to break apart faster and get into your blood rather than waiting for it to dissolve in your stomach. So thank you for that advice. I downloaded the book from Hoopla. Looks like a really good resource. I will probably pick this one up from my library here at home. Good going, love son. Caitlin Strength says her K95s are a few steps from her desk. Okay, yeah, so that's the whole idea. So what can you keep in the nightstand or on your nightstand next to you? That's going to be important. So, gosh, let me see if I can find that picture of my nightstand. No, here we go. We need to go to this one. Launchpad. And no, we want to go to Finder. There we go, Finder. So if I go to Finder, it's not going to let me. Oh, well. Oh, there we go. We're there. So now then, documents, nightstand. So it's not there. So maybe, no, I can't do that. Okay, it's on my thumb drive already. I've transferred it over. And my thumb drive, I can't plug in my thumb drive because I've got one port over here for the light, and I've got one port over here for the microphone. So I can't put my thumb drive in. But I will, I'll find out that number, the video, the short that I did on my nightstand, and let you take a look at that. Add a face mask to it, because there was a great suggestion here. We add a face mask to your nightstand. Okay, what questions do you have? We've done 15, 16 this evening, and we're moving right through this. Any additional things you would like to discuss, or any other? Let me see. Oh, Phylloxera says that they told in the emergency room, they told him to chew one and swallow the other. Supposed to get solar storms over the next few days. If you have a Faraday box or bag, would be a good time to use it, just in case. Thank you, Higgy. That's absolutely true. They're expecting an X 1.9, and that's what they saw depart with one of the largest CMEs they've seen, which was not Earth-facing. However, that spot is turning towards Earth-facing, and they believe that it's going to, it may have a CME towards Earth in the next 48 hours. That is separate from the fact that there are flares, X 1.9 flares, that are expected to hit the U.S. or hit the Earth in the next 24 to 48 hours. Two separate events, both of them not good. With the X flare, we're expecting to see the aurora borealis down lower. It can affect radio traffic and some electronic signals. There was a shortage because an X flare hit the Earth over the weekend, and so Southeast Asia and Australia had a lot of radio communications blackouts because of that flare. So it just struck when that was the facing, was Australia and Southeast Asia, which is a good thing. Remember that right now, the southern hemisphere is pointed towards the sun more than the northern hemisphere, which is why we have shorter days. So they have their longer days. They're faced more towards the sun in the southern hemisphere than we are. So anything we get is going to be kind of a glancing blow, whereas the southern hemisphere gets a direct blow. That's a good thing while we're in winter. And of course, the first day of official winter is coming up the 21st. Oh, wow. Yep. Thank you. Phylloxera says that he's had X drives get corrupted just sitting around. They are influenced by magnetism. So, there are certain things that if you place them somewhere close to include some other conductive metals, if they get too close to them, can cause them to degrade because they aren't EMP proof. And electromagnetic protection is pretty important. Let me see. Most people hang their keys by the door. Keep a spare vehicle key somewhere outside in case. That's not a bad idea. Thank you for that, little prepper. When I come in, I take my cap off and put it down. I put my sunglasses, my car keys, and then the handle to my cane all go inside of my hat. Inside the house, there's enough furniture, walls, and everything else where I can keep my stability by holding on to something, moving from one room to the next. So I can pretty much maneuver inside the house at will. Once I leave the house, I need my cane. So, if I go out the front door, my cane is there. If I come out the back door, oh gosh, that's a fault in my system. I need to put a cane back here. Okay, thank you for that. Good. Thank you for mentioning keys. Great idea. Let me see. On prepping for the long term, Heather, Craig, and Craig have a Facebook channel, prepping for the long term. She showed that she bought an Advent preparedness calendar. I think she said it cost like $20 or $40. And each day of Advent, moving up towards Christmas, as you open each one, there's a different gift. And so the first one they opened, I guess, was a fixed blade knife. So I thought, wow, what a great gift to give to somebody who is not into preparedness. Maybe it would entice them to get into it. I doubt very seriously if you're going to give 25, 24 days worth of, 25 days this year. If you're going to give 25 days worth of gifts for $20, let's say, that the fixed blade knife there is probably not the best in the world, but it may be the only fixed blade knife that that person owns. So, that's a pretty good deal. Okay, we are right at 55 minutes. I think we've done enough for the evening. I'm going to take some medicine. My wife wants to get on the computer, and she wants to order some Christmas presents for our grandchildren. So thank you all for being here. Book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. I'll use my new glasses. And I bought these because I keep sitting on them or moving them or whatever. And so these are those flex glasses that you can't break. So they're for Lee because they're unbreakable. Aha, there we go. I've got it. If I look this way, I can read down this way. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and give you peace. So thank you all for being here. We will be back next Monday. I don't think I'm going to have that big of a pantry haul this coming Saturday, simply because I've got, the Tuesday haul coming in. Well, not Tuesday. It's the second of the month, the Amazon subscribe and save. And I've got some stuff coming in from that. I'm probably not going to get that much more this week. Maybe some stuff to replace stuff that we've used. But look for it. We may discuss other things. And then also look for the announcement of when we're going to do our first survival scenario. So got the people working on that. Tomorrow night we have our board meeting for AmericanSurvival.org, and one of the oldest survival organizations in the U.S. And I'm on the board, so we have our board meeting for that tomorrow night. I do want to encourage you. Let me look for the email, and there at TACTA, we're having our monthly meeting, and it's free for you to attend. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that. TACTA.org, TACDA.org. And let me see. Okay, so TACTA is going to be Thursday, the 11th of December at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. And James Jones, the author of these books, who is also the founder of AmericanSurvivor.org, which is how I know him, being on the board of directors there with him. And he will be the person that they're interviewing and talking about. Attendees will learn practical skills, preparedness tips, mindset shifts necessary to stay safe, secure, and self-sufficient. If you go to TACDA.org, TACDA.org, and join, membership is free, then you will receive the link where you can go watch that. And I may put a link in the show notes anyway. So that's where we are. Remember, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for taking care of your fellow human being and making sure that they're prepared as well. Okay, so that's it for the evening. Remember that we're all in this together, so we can come out the other side together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is what it'll take to get through this. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.